Okay, there we go. Plug in. Okay, so exciting day for us, inshallah. We will finish Nietzsche. Okay. This is an excellent book and very witty, saucy, gets us thinking about all kinds of topics. And so let's see if we can finish it. We're on the drunken song, don't forget. Let's jump right in. I got a nice iced vanilla latte that my husband got me. And we're ready to go. Let's get her done. Was that life? I want to say to death. Well then, once more. My friends, what do you think? Do you not want to say to death as I do? Was that life? For Zarathustra's sake, well then, once more. Thus spoke the ugliest man, but it was not long before midnight. And what do you suppose happened then? As soon as the higher men had heard this question, they all at once became conscious of how they had changed and convalesced into whom they owed this. Then they jumped towards Zarathustra to thank, revere, and caress him and kiss his hands, each according to his own manner, and some were laughing and some were crying, but the old soothsayer was dancing with joy. And even if, as some of the chroniclers think, he was full of sweet wine, he was certainly still fuller of the sweetness of life, and he had renounced all weariness. Renouncing all weariness. There are even some who relate that the ass danced too, the donkey, remember, that poor donkey survived that weird ritual, and that it had not been for nothing, that the ugliest man had given him wine to drink before. Now it may have been night. Oh, no, here we go. Now it may have been so or otherwise, and if the ass really did not dance that night, yet greater and stranger wonders occurred than the dancing of a donkey would have been. In short, as the proverb of Zarathustra says, what does it matter? Whenever you get asked something like that, like, oh, what does it matter? You should actually answer that question. Think. Because you get yourself into a lot of trouble. But when this happened, part 2, to the ugliest man, Zarathustra stood there like a drunkard. His eyes grew dim, his tongue failed, his feet stumbled, and who could guess what thoughts were then running over Zarathustra's soul? But his spirit fled visibly and flew ahead, and was in remote distances, as it were, on a high ridge, as it is written between two seas, wandering like a heavy cloud between past and future. But as the higher men held him in their arms, he gradually recovered his senses, to some extent, and with his hands warded off the throng of the revering and worried. Yet he did not speak. All at once, however, he turned his head quickly, for he seemed to be hearing something. Then he put one finger to his mouth and said, "Come." Presently it became quiet and secret around, but from the depth the sound of a bell came up slowly. So we have a sound of a bell. Let's see. Zarathustra and the higher men listened for it, but then he put one finger to his mouth another time and said again, "Come, come, midnight approaches." And his voice had changed, but still he did not stir from his place. Then it grew still more quiet and secret, and everything listened, even the donkey and Zarathustra's animals of honor, the eagle and the serpent, as well as Zarathustra's cave, and the big cool moon and the night itself. But Zarathustra put his hand to his mouth for the third time and said, "Come, come, let us wander now. The hour has come, let us wander into the night." Part 3. You higher men, midnight approaches. I want to whisper something to you, as the old bell whispers it into my ears. A secretly as terribly, as cordially as that midnight bell, which has experienced more than any man, says it to me. It has counted the beats, even of your father's hearts, and smarts. Alas, alas, how it sighs, how it laughs in a dream, old deep midnight. Now, if you recall, Assalamu alaikum. That's a name in Arabic. I can't read Arabic very well, even with my tajweed. I'm not gonna attempt it. For some reason, in the past books, like old books of the past, midnight is like this super mysterious time. Remember in Cinderella, if you grew up with Disney movies, she like the curse would like not the curse, the spell would break at midnight, and there's always things around midnight. So Nietzsche has kept up that vein for us. Still here things are heard that by day might not become loud, but now in the cool air, when all the noise of your hearts too has become still, now it speaks, now it is heard, now it steals into nocturnal, over-awake souls. Alas, alas, how it sighs, how it laughs in a dream. Do you not hear how it speaks secretly, terribly cordially to you, the old deep, deep midnight? Oh man, take care. 4. Woe unto me, where is time gone? Have I not sunk into deep wells? The world sleeps, alas, alas, the dog howls, the moon shines. Sooner would I die rather than tell you what my midnight heart thinks now. Now I have died, it is gone. Spider, what do you spin around me? Do you want blood? Alas, alas. Assalamu alaikum, yo. The dew falls, the hour approaches, the hour when I shiver and freeze, which asks and asks, who has heart enough for it? Who shall be the Lord of the earth? Who will say, thus shall you run, you big and little rivers? The hour approaches, O man, you higher man. Take care, this speech is for the delicate ears. For your ears, what does the deep midnight declare? 5. I am carried away, my soul dances, day's work. Who shall be the Lord of earth? The moon is cool, the wind is silent. Alas, alas, have you flown high enough yet? You have danced, but a leg is no wing. You good dancers. Now this is a good line. You have danced, but a leg is no wing. You good dancers, now all pleasure is gone. Wine has become less. Every cup has become brittle. The tombs stammer. You did not fly high enough. Now the tombs stammer. So he repeated that twice. Tomb stammer. Redeem the dead. Why does the night last so long? Does not the moon make us drunken? You higher men, redeem the tombs. Awaken the corpses. Alas, why does the worm still burrow? The hour approaches. The bell hums, the heart still rattles, the death watch. The heartworm still burrows. Alas, alas, the world is deep. So we notice here, he ends it, oh man, take care. 4, what does the deep midnight declare? And then 5, alas, the world is deep. So he's ending it. We're getting a lot of depth talk here. D-E-P-T-H, depth, 6, sweet Leary, I love your sound. Your drunken, rancorous croaking. From how long ago, from how far away, your sound comes to me, from the distant ponds of love, you old bell, you sweet Leary. Every pain has torn into your heart. Father's pain. Your speech grew ripe as golden autumn and afternoon, as my hermit's heart. Now you say the world itself has grown ripe. The grape is turning brown. Now it will die of happiness. You, higher man, do you not smell it? A smell is secretly welling up, a fragrance, a smell of eternity. A rose-blessed brown gold wine fragranced of old happiness, of the drunken happiness of a dying at midnight, that sings, the world is deep, deeper than day had been aware. Now, when you look into water and it's dark, you can't tell its depths. In the daytime, on certain types of water, you can get a more clear assessment, obviously. So, at night, perceiving depth is a lot harder, especially if the moon isn't out. During the day, you're hiking, you can really see the depth of things. That's an interesting one. Yet, if you notice a lot of people at night before they go to bed, that seems to be the darkness allows them to think more. They get insomnia, they start thinking. Whereas during the day, you take a nap, you're not thinking about anything. So, how light, sunlight, and moon, and like the moonlight and the dark of the night affect your mind can really be something we can extract from this. 7. Leave me, I am too pure for you. Do not touch me. Did not my world become perfect just now? My skin is too pure for your hands. Leave me, you stupid, boorish, dumb day. Is not the midnight brighter? The purest shall be the lords of the earth. The most unknown, the strongest, the midnight souls who are brighter and deeper than any day. Midnight souls who are deeper and brighter than any day. That's a bar right there. That almost makes me think about when I see people who are really bubbly and poppy and they're like springy, like a cheerleader, I usually think of them as a bimbo. But if you ever come across like a goth girl, she's more of like, has more of a nighttime thing to her, deadpan, can be a little nihilistic. I've come to find those girls have a lot more depth to them than the preppies. And so, that's what I'm thinking about in my head for my own life. So, remember Nietzsche, when you read his books, you can think of a lot of different things depending on the context of your own condition. So, deeper than they had been aware, and the midnight souls who are brighter and deeper than any day. Because there's a lot of people who think because you're out at night, or you like the nightlife, that automatically equates to sin. But think about if you had like a nice cabin in the woods and you could go on your porch, light a candle, or you have a lantern or some type of light. And maybe sometimes you don't even have any light at all. You just sit out there looking up at the sky, and you may go to bed later and wake up later in the day, but you enjoy your night owl, as they call it. You're not a morning dove. Some people, they're up at Fajr and they don't want to go back to bed. They're on for the day. Others, they like the stillness and the noiselessness of the night and allows their minds to flow. Whereas others like that feeling of when the birds are singing, when people are getting into their cars to go to work, the air is crisp, the dew is still on the grass. There's a dynamic there. Sunrise people versus sunset people, right? O day, you grope for me, you seek my happiness. I seem rich to you, lonely, a treasure pit, a gold chamber. O world, you want me. Am I worldly to you? Am I spiritual to you? Am I godlike to you? But day and world, you are too ponderous. Have cleverer hands. Reach for deeper happiness, for deeper unhappiness. Now see here the balance here. Deeper happiness, deeper unhappiness. Reach for any God, do not reach for me. My happiness is deep. You strange day, but I am yet no God, no God's hell. Deep is its woe. Interesting. 8. God's woe is deeper, you strange world. Reach for God's woe, not for me. What am I? A drunken sweet leery, a midnight leery, an ominous bell frog that nobody understands, but that must speak. Before the deaf, you higher men, for you do not understand me. Gone, gone, O youth, O noon, O afternoon. Now evening has come, and night and midnight. The dog howls, the wind. Is not the wind a dog? It whines, it yelps, it howls. Alas, alas, how the midnight sighs. How it laughs, how it rattles, how it wheezes. How she speaks soberly now, this drunken poetess. Perhaps she overdrank her drunkenness. She became overawake. She ruminates her woe. She ruminates in a dream. The old deep midnight. Even more her joy. For joy. Assalamu alaikum, Shug. Shug says, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for sharing your time and knowledge with us. Listening to, reading, and having the opportunity to discuss is so great a journey. Thanks, fam. Thanks for being here. Assalamu alaikum, Mukhtar. How she speaks soberly now, this drunken poetess. Perhaps she overdrank her drunkenness. She became overawake. She ruminates. And even more her joy. For joy, even if woe is deep. Joy is deeper yet than agony. Ooh, joy is deeper yet than agony? Have any of us experienced that? I haven't, but I'm sure that there's a capacity for that. You know, I've experienced agony being deeper than joy. 9. You vine, why do you praise me? Did I not cut you? Am I cruel? You bleed. What does your praise of my drunken cruelty mean? What has become perfect? All that is ripe wants to die. Oh my goodness, that's a cool line. All that is ripe wants to die. That's the inevitable cycle, isn't it? You ever notice how when you get grapes from the grocery store, you know, they start to age really fast? You gotta put them in the fridge. They'll preserve them a little bit. Flowers as well, you know. That's only what goes up must come down, you know. Thus you speak, blessed, blessed be the vintager's knife. But all that is unripe wants to live. Whoa, now that's another bar right there. All that is unripe wants to live. Nietzsche's got some great bars here. Whoa, woe and treats, go away. Whoa, but all that suffers wants to live. That it may become ripe and joyous and longing for what is farther, higher, brighter. I want heirs, thus speaks all that suffers. I want children, I do not want myself. Joy, however, does not want heirs or children. Joy wants itself, wants eternity, wants recurrence, wants everything eternally the same. Woe says, break, bleed, heart, wonder, leg, wing, fly, get on, up, pain. Well then, old heart, woe implores, go. Woe implores, go. I like that. 10. You higher men, what do you think? Am I a soothsayer, a dreamer, a drunkard, an interpreter of dreams, a midnight bell, a drop of dew, a haze and fragrance of eternity? Do you not hear it? Do you not smell it? Just now my world became perfect. Midnight. 2 is noon. Pain is joy. Curses, too, are a blessing. Night, too, is a sun. Go away, or you will learn. A sage, too, is a fool. A sage, too, is a fool. What I think is awesome is that lines like that become really important in your life. That everyone has wisdom in something, but they have an inadequacy in other areas, right? And therefore, you can be called a fool in some regard. What I think is interesting is this phenomenon of people, especially secular liberal atheists, who will go to college, and they will think that because you don't agree with their ideology and you didn't go to their school, you know, you didn't achieve some PhD in a field that they approve of, that you must be low IQ because you don't agree with them, you don't see their points. And they see themselves as special boys. Like they see themselves as women of the highest caliber. I've been coming across this more. It's really strange. It's very a strange phenomenon. I heard Kyle Kalinske yesterday in one of his videos said the eugenics of the past was about genetics. The eugenics of the future will be if the more conservative you are, the more low IQ you will be. And he was basically talking about a sort of political eugenics. And I thought to myself, more and more liberals now are getting to the point where, like, I had one liberal on Instagram tell me that I must be very low IQ if I don't like feminism. And I thought to myself, what? That's the most strangest insult. That's a very strange insult. So, this person obviously thinks that they are the end-all be-all, that they are a special boy, and he was a male feminist. Can you believe it? Disgusting. But he thinks he's special and smarter than everyone else because he went to a liberal arts university, went into thousands of dollars in debt to a bank with high interest rates, got a stamp of approval, wore a square hat, and now he thinks he's better than everyone else who didn't choose what he chose and didn't come to the conclusions he came to. And I just thought it was a very revealing moment for me because I was like, wow, this is like a mirage. It's like a sort of brainwashing where professors are placed too high when many of them only have skills in that particular area. You know what I mean? It's interesting. Shug says, I remember the Time magazine article in '94 about one successful human clone having been done. Then there have been no more studies on the topic. I wonder how far they've come since then. Clones. China's probably led the way in that. They've been playing around with pig tissue a lot. China's probably leading the way in that. Have you ever said yes to a single joy, oh my friends? Then you said yes to all woe. All things are entangled, ensnared, enamored. If ever you wanted one thing twice, if you ever said, you please me, happiness, abide, moment, then you wanted all back. Now, what did you just get here? All things are entangled, ensnared, enamored. A thesaurus is a great book to have so that you can, Assalamu alaikum, Hod White, you can look at synonyms. Because synonyms are a really fun thing to examine and that expand your vocabulary. And on my blog, I do some thesaurus posts sometimes of different synonyms. To be entangled and snared reminds me of the ripple effect. A great example of that is when you take an anger management class. They'll tell you that your actions will ripple out onto other people that you did not expect, right? And when you think of yourself as ensnared and everything around you has some type of entanglement, you can be more cautious with what you do, what choices you make, right? If ever you wanted one thing twice, here we go, yes. If you ever wanted one thing twice, if you ever said, you please me, happiness, abide a moment, then you wanted all back, all new, all eternity, all entangled, ensnared, enamored. Oh, then you love the world, eternal ones. Love it eternally. Even more, and woe to you. You say, go, but return. For all joy wants eternity. For all joy wants eternity. Now, this is interesting. In the hereafter, we will not, all suffering will cease, and we will have joy for eternity. So Nietzsche putting in this line here, that joy wants eternity, that's a very interesting, you can't say personality, but maybe a trait, a condition of joy. It wants to continue. And people here in our world seek that through different means that come to an end. And that's not possible. And so you have to be cautious of that. Because you'll have a feeling of joy. This is what drugs do. People will use fentanyl and then they get addicted. They get that feeling of euphoria and they chase it and chase it and chase it until they are zombies in the street. And they think they can make their mind go into an eternity of joy artificially with counterfeit measures, and that's just not the case. So humans, when they're doing their dopamine searches, can find a thing of joy and then run with it, which is what hedonism really plays upon, that feeling of passion and joy. 11. All joy wants the eternity of all things. Wants honey, wants less, wants drunken midnight, wants tombs, wants tomb terrors, comfort, wants a gilded evening glow. What does joy not want? It is thirstier, more cordial, hungrier, more terrible, more secret than all woe. It wants itself. It bites into itself. The ring's will strives in it. It wants love. It wants hatred. It is over rich. Gives, throws away. Begs that one might take it. Thanks the taker. It would like to be hated. So rich is joy that it thirsts for woe, for hell, for hatred, for disgrace, for the cripple, for world, this world. Oh, you know it. You higher men. For you it longs. Joy, the intractable, blessed one. For your woe, you failures, all eternal joy longs for failures. Now, could that be all eternal joy longs for failures? Because if you failed, you need that medicine of success. Because once you failed at something and then you get joy, it becomes an all ever more potent elixir and dopamine hit. So maybe that's what he means when he contends joy longs for failures. Because what is that like? When you've messed something up but then you succeeded, it makes it all the more sweeter because you failed previously, but now you've got it, so it's sweeter. If you just won the, like, basketball, let's say you just won the match. No, let's not use basketball because that takes a team. Let's say boxing. Okay, you want to box somebody, you failed several times, but then when you do win, it's more sweeter because you worked really hard on it. Like a comeback kid. You know what I mean? Shug said, failure can be a great training ground. Very true. And the joy of victory is like a wonderful, alluring angle. For all joy wants itself. Hence, it also wants agony. Oh happiness, oh pain, oh break. Heart, you higher men, do learn this. Joy wants eternity. Joy wants the eternity of all things. Wants deep eternity. 12. Have you now... Now remember, he keeps mentioning deepness, depth. So, not surface level. Not shallow. Okay? Have you ever met people who, they're very surface level, they're very boring to talk to. So, how are you doing? How is Catherine? We are just redesigning our balcony. We're gonna go on a vacation to the Bahamas. Oh, yes. Like, it's very like, yeah, this is boring, yawn. But then you'll meet someone who gets real, and you're like, hey, how you doing? And they're like, I'm not doing too good, man. And you're like, what's going on? And they're like, you know, yada, yada, yada. And then you start talking, and then you realize, like, oh, I thought this person was just like a turtle shell, but they got some depth to them. And then their mind unfolds in front of you, and they're like a vast rug of intertwined thoughts. They're not smooth-brained, right? So it's important for us in our lives to have that balance of depth to us. But there's a lot of shallow women, especially. So I think there's a lot more shallow women than men. Because sometimes men can enable women to be empty-headed bimbos. And then when you try to, like, talk to these women, you're like, this is like talking to, like, a pigeon. This is a human pigeon here. And it's so dead inside. You crave something more. And I think that's where a lot of people in the past would go and talk to their elders because they've lived so long, they're really deep in knowledge. Now, though, I think there's more dumb old people than there used to be. And I say that because of corporate news, the hijacking of knowledge, stuff like that. 12. Have you now learned my song? Have you guessed its intent? Well then, you higher men, sing me now my round. Now, you yourselves sing me the song whose name is once more, whose meaning is into all eternity. Sing, you higher men, Zarathustra's round. So this is the song. Oh man, take care. What does the deep midnight declare? I was asleep. From a deep dream I woke and swear the world is deep. Deeper than day had been aware. Deep is its woe. Joy deeper yet than agony. Woe implores go. But all joy wants eternity, once deep, wants eternity. So some of those lines he just said were ones he ended his paragraph with in italics. So that's interesting. So we were kind of on the right thread there of things he wanted to emphasize. You know? The sign. Let's see. In the morning, after this night, Zarathustra jumped up from his resting place, girded his loins, and came out of his cave, glowing and strong, as a morning sun that comes out of dark mountains. You great star, he said, as he had said once before. You deep eye of happiness. The sun, a deep eye of happiness. That's a unique one. I've seen a lot of sun art. I guess when you draw the flames, they could kind of look like eyelashes. That would be an abstract painting that could be pretty cool. But then it would be one-eyed, and that would take on occultic symbolism, so I don't think that's a really good idea. What would your happiness be had, you not those for whom you shine? So notice this. What would your happiness be had you not those for whom you shine? That's also deep. Could you be as happy if you didn't bring happiness out in others? Think about as a mom or dad, parent, grandparent even. You do a kindness to little children and their eyes light up. They got that little cute smile, that twinkle in their eye. You're just like, oh, yay, yay. Like, you know, they get joy when you're there because you always bring something good. And then you get happy seeing them happy, right? Now, I know that there's a lot of people who call, feminists who call children crotch goblins and yeet them kids, F them kids. There's a lot of like the millennials I think are nicer to kids, but the younger generations I think are becoming more meaner about kids because they're anti-natalist automatons. And so they don't really, and especially with the glorification of abortion and the regulation of fertility, children are not really having the place they deserve. And so some people may not comprehend my example of when you make the children happy, you get even more happy. And what would your happiness be if you were not able to shine that happiness upon them and then ignite all their flames of happiness? Like you're like the giant candle who goes around lighting all the other candles. You know what I mean? And if they stayed in their chambers even after you had awakened and come and given and distributed, how angry would your proud shame be? Well then, they still sleep, these higher men. While I am awake, these are not my proper companions. It is not for them that I wait here in my mountains. I want to go to my work, to my day, but they do not understand the signs of my morning. My stride is for them no summons to awaken. They still sleep in my cave. Their dream still drinks of my drunken songs. The ear that listens for me, the heedful ear is lacking in their limbs. Thus had Zarathustra spoken to his heart when the sun rose. Then he looked up questioning into the height, for he heard the sharp cry of his eagle above him. Well then, he cried back, thus it pleases and suits me. My animals are awake. For I, am awake. My eagle is awake and honors the sun as I do. With eagle talons he grasps for the new light. You are the right animals for me, I love you, but I still lack the right men. Thus spoke Zarathustra. But, notice here, he just said, you are the right animals for me, but he still lacks the right men. And remember all those people who were hanging out in his cave. Thus spoke Zarathustra, but then it happened that he suddenly heard himself surrounded as by innumerable swarming and fluttering birds. But the whirring of so many wings and the thronging about his head were so great that he closed his eyes, and verily like a cloud it came over him, like a cloud of arrows that empties itself over a new enemy. But behold, here it was, a cloud of love over a new friend. What is happening to me? Thought Zarathustra in his surprised heart, and slowly he sat down on a big stone that lay near the exit of his cave. But as he reached out his hands around over and under himself, warding off the affectionate birds, behold, something stranger yet happened to him. For unwittingly he reached into a thick warm mane, and at the same time he heard a roar in front of him, a soft, long lion roar. The sign is at hand, said Zarathustra, and change came over his heart. Indeed, as if become light before him, a mighty yellow animal lay at his feet and pressed its head against his knees, and out of love did not want to let go of him. He acted like a dog that finds its old master again. But the doves were no less eager in their love than the lion. And whenever a dove slipped over the lion's nose, the lion shook its head and was amazed and laughed. So the tamer of the lion, there's a lot of iconography in lions. What is it? I forgot the name of the guy in the Christian religion. There was like an art piece where he's like around the lions who are all tame. I could picture it in my head. It wasn't Samson, somebody else. But lion tamer, the one who can tame a lion, is like, there's a lot of mysticism around that. And then you think about how the Christians, Prophet Daniel, yeah, I think it's Prophet Daniel. Thanks, Shug. So I think, because remember, Nietzsche has kind of taken a lot of Christian themes and put them into his book, but like mocked them and distorted it. So his Zarathustra character, he's got doves getting along with lions. And in the Bible, I remember it talked about I think it said that, in the end of time, or I don't know, the lion and the lamb will lay down in peace or something like that. But the dove not being swatted by the lion, and the lion laughing, right? You know, there's something to that. About all this, Zarathustra spoke but a single sentence. My children are near, my children. Then he became entirely silent, but his heart was loosed. The tears dropped from his eyes and fell on his hands, and he no longer heeded anything and sat there motionless without warding off the animals any more. Then the doves flew about and sat on his shoulders and caressed his white hair and did not weary of tenderness and jubilation. Now, what's interesting about the doves flying to him, we have some doves around here, and they are very sketchy. They, I'll put some seed out for them or some bread that I made. They'll sit there and look at you, and they make a really pretty sound. And then, but if you go near them, they like freak out and they panic and they fly away. They're not like the way in which they flee shows that they're terrified. You know, like when you say to someone little dove, it's not just that they're cute, but that they're very jumpy. A dove is very jumpy. They look like a pigeon will come to you and eat bread, and a pigeon kind of has an airheadedness to them, and you look at a dove and think they're going to be airheads, but they are very like, oh, human, goodbye, and they fly away. You know, that's just what they do. Whereas a crow, you can hang out with them. Seagull, like some birds have a different personality, you know. Sparrows might stare at you for 2 seconds and they fly away, but there isn't a fear in the air. Doves have a certain type of fear. Shug says, pigeons are bold but slightly dumb. I could wind up on your plate, but that stale bread looks delicious. Yeah. Yeah. So when Nietzsche's putting here that the doves are caressing him and showing affection, you can see the uniqueness of that. So a non-skittish dove and a laughing lion we have thus far. But the strong lion, kept licking up the tears that fell on Zarathustra's hands, and roared and growled bashfully. Thus acted these animals. A bashful lion, a laughing lion. All this lasted a long time, or a short time, for properly speaking there is no time on earth for such things. But meanwhile, the higher men in Zarathustra's cave had awakened, and arranged themselves in a procession to meet Zarathustra and bid him good morning. For they had found, when they had awakened, that he was no longer among them. But when they reached the door of the cave and the sound of their steps ran ahead of them, the lion started violently, turned away from Zarathustra suddenly, and jumped toward the cave, roaring savagely. But when the higher men heard it roar, they all cried out as with a single mouth, and they had fled back and disappeared in a flash. So the lion seems to be protecting Zarathustra. Zarathustra himself, however, dazed and strange, rose from his seat, looked around, stood there amazed, questioned his heart, reflected, and was alone. What did I hear? He finally said slowly. What happened to me just now? And presently memory came to him. With a single glance he grasped everything that had happened. Between yesterday and today, here is a stone, he said, stroking his beard, where I sat yesterday morning, and here the soothsayer came to me, and here I first heard the cry which I heard just now, the great cry of distress. O you higher men, where is your distress that this old soothsayer prophesied to me yesterday morning? To your distress he wanted to seduce and tempt me. O Zarathustra, he said to me, I come to seduce you to your final sin. My final sin? Shouted Zarathustra. And he laughed angrily at his own words. What was it that he was saved up for me as a final sin? Once more Zarathustra became absorbed in himself, and he sat down again on the big stone and reflected. There's a statue of the thinking man that a lot of philosophy majors like. He's sitting on a giant stone. He's naked, I think, and he's like thinking. That's what I'm picturing here. I wonder if that statue was made because of Nietzsche. I never looked at the date the artist made it. Suddenly he jumped up. Pity, pity for the higher man, he cried out, and his face changed to bronze. Well then, that has had its time. My suffering or my pity for suffering, what does it matter? Am I concerned with happiness? Am I concerned with my work? Well then, the lion came. My children are near. Zarathustra has ripened. My hour has come. This is my morning. My day is breaking. Rise now, rise thou great noon. Thus spoke Zarathustra, and he left his cave, glowing and strong as a morning sun that comes out of a dark mountain. So that sort of a shining light reminds me of in Disney's Hercules, when Hercules gets the Olympian light again. Oh, that's the end. We just finished it. Okay, mashallah. So it ends with him just glowing and being shiny. Well, that's awesome. Okay, we did it. It's been a longer journey than usual because I had my schedule as time went on got thinner and thinner, and so could have finished it faster, but at least we did it. Now let's just run through some of my annotations. Zarathustra says, I love man. And Zarathustra has become a child. Zarathustra is an awakened one. And then, what do you not want among the sleepers? Do not go to man, stay in the forest. Go rather even to the animals. Why do you not want to be, as I am, a bear among bears, a bird among birds? So, going through just some things that I annotate, you can see the theme here. Suspicious of hermits. Answered Zarathustra, I give no alms, for that I am not poor enough. Once the soul looked contemptuously upon the body, and then this contempt was the highest. She wanted the body meager, ghastly, and starved. Another one. I teach you the overman. Man is something that shall be overcome. What have you done to overcome him? Whoever is the wisest among you is also a mere conflict and cross between plant and ghost. But do I bid you become ghosts or plants? Behold, I teach you the overman. The overman is the meaning of the earth. Let your will say, the overman shall be the meaning of the earth. I beseech you, my brothers, remain faithful to the earth, and do not believe those who speak to you of other worldly hopes. Poison mixers are they, whether they know it or not. Despisers of life are they, decaying and poison themselves, of whom the earth is weary, so let them go. So notice here, you even in the very beginning, you can see that he's not thinking of a hereafter, that he's very into the here and now, right? The empirical realities, and not what he deems a fanciful, delayed gratification. And so, when he says remain faithful to the earth, you can read that as being a good steward, if you're being charitable, but you can also take that and make them think, oh, well, don't be too much with your pie in the sky ideals, you know? Don't overly assume. The cop keeps blowing in the fan. Don't be overly concerned with whatever is going to happen later. You should look at the here and now. Agosto says, early wolf wild stuff took some beating, maybe to make them teach to act too. I don't know what you're talking about. Early wolf wild stuff. I don't know what you mean. Shook says, crows and magpie are quite cunning, so are ravens. Yes, they are. They're really, really fantastic to, magpies are on a lot of farms. And another line I annotated was, I love him who lives to know, and who wants to know, so that the overman may live some day, and thus he wants to go under. I love him who works and invents to build a house for the overman, and to prepare earth, animal, and plant for him, for thus he wants to go under. I love him who does not want to have too many virtues. One virtue is more than two, because it is more of a noose on which his catastrophe may hang. Now that's an interesting one, because it reminds you, like, if your virtue is being chased and then you screw up one time, that's going to ruin your reputation. So it's like a catastrophe, right? Let's see, another annotation. I love him whose soul is overfull, so that he forgets himself, and all things are in him. Thus all things spell his going under. Next one I annotated. I say unto you, one must still have chaos in oneself, to be able to give birth to a dancing star. I say unto you, you still have chaos in yourselves. What is love? What is creation? What is longing? What is a star? Thus asked the last man, and he blinks. One has one's little pleasure for the day, and one's little pleasure for the night, but one has a regard for health. Okay, let's see. An insight has come to me. Let Zarathustra speak, not to the people but to companions. Zarathustra shall not become the shepherd and dog of a herd. I have so many annotations here. To my goal I will go. On my way over those who hesitate and lag behind I shall leap. Thus let my going be their going under. So you lag behind, he's just going to leave you behind. My brothers, why is there a need in the spirit for the lion? Why is not the beast a burden which renounces and reverent enough? Now that's interesting because, like I said earlier, the lion itself just is a huge part of the human icon library. Hieroglyphs to cave paintings to all kinds of stuff, you'll see the lion being there. Of the three metaphors of the spirit, I have told you how the spirit becomes a camel, and the camel a lion, and the lion finally a child. Next one. Few know it, but one must have all the virtues to sleep well. Shall I bear false witness? Shall I commit adultery? Shall I covet my neighbor's maid? All that would go ill with good sleep. So those are obviously, again, hinting at the thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. So, Ten Commandment stuff. You know what I mean? Assalamualaikum, Salhayman. Assalamualaikum, Mayad. We have finished Nietzsche, the book, but I wanted to just read some of the bars I really liked. Do I counsel you to slay your senses? I counsel the innocence of the senses. Innocence of the senses. To drive out, next one, to drive out their devil, have themselves entered into swine. Those for whom chastity is difficult should be counseled against it, lest it become their road to hell, the mud and the heat of their souls. Next, it is not when truth is dirty, but when it is shallow, that the lover of knowledge is reluctant to step into its waters. Remember how when the last pages we read, he kept talking about depth, and that, you know, truth is dirty in a way. And women, I've been noticing more and more, it's fantastic actually, because certain things about social media allow you to see the hive mind of women, right? Women are the first ones to say, oftentimes, don't judge me. Don't judge me. Okay? We're like, hey, like, okay, there was like for example, yesterday, I don't know why Instagram put this crap in my feed. I like to look at sushi, koi fish, stuff like that. Not that I'm eating koi fish. I mean, those are separate issues, but separate categories. But there was a fat lady, and she said, what I eat every day as a fatty. And she's a fat influencer. And she's obese, man. And it's not because she had kids or something like that. Like, she's a porker. And women in the comments are telling her she's beautiful. And the men in the comments are saying you should go to the gym. Right? And so it's... And some women will say, hey... don't judge her, but it's like, you know, the truth is you're not healthy right now and you need to stop. So the truth is dirty, right? Saul Heyman says, do you see yourself capable of becoming the overman after finishing Zarathustra? I don't think so. Because I think I'm more, I don't really, I can't, remember how he always was mentioning the free spirit, like a dancing and being able to laugh and stuff like that? My mind is more macabre. It's more morbid. It can be cynical, nihilistic. I lean more toward a goth mindset sometimes. I don't lean towards the smiling people type of stuff. Let me give an example. Like I had this one coworker when I was a server in a fine dining restaurant, and he was always so happy. I think he was a Buddhist or a Taoist. I think it was a Taoist. The Tao Te Ching. I have that book. And he was like really into Taoism. Yeah, I don't think it was Buddhism. I think it was Taoism. And he was always smiling and happy, and I was a bit more stoic, serious, laid back. But we had two different energies when working the floor together. I smiled at the customers, but he was just too perky. He was too perky for me. And one time I feel bad about it. Still to this day I think about it. I like ruined his mood on purpose. You know? Like I would be like, the chef said this about you. Which was true. I didn't have to tell him. And he didn't have good work ethic. I would be polishing silverware, polishing wine glasses, doing side work, folding the roll-ups, the linen napkins. And he'd be chatting up some stupid food runner lady, or flirting with the cook, or trying to brown nose. Like, he was just too happy and too nonchalant. And I found myself wanting to, like, ruin his mood. It was like a challenge. And I got under his skin and disturbed his mood, and that made me feel better. And I was more mean back then. If he would have done his job, I wouldn't have looked for something to get under his skin, but I relate to Zarathustra, like, telling hard truths and not falling for, like, remember the character, the Pope and the kings, right? And, you know, not wanting flattery. I relate to that, but being that happy, free spirit, it's just not for me. I never really got along with women who, like, my closest friends, you would think that they're more like Wednesday from the Addams Family. But I like that kind of energy from women because you can trust those women more. The ones who are smiling look like Barbies. And I just don't. Like the politician's wife type of energy. Like Nicole Kidman played in something called The Stepford Wives. Like, if you're just like this 1950s smiling, sometimes I don't trust you. Like, why are you smiling? There's nothing to smile about. I mean, I don't know. So the character Nietzsche has here is complex, for sure. You know, it's not something easy. It's not something easy to become the overman. And he remembered that he said he was talking to men, not women. So I don't think I can, because his philosophy is for women, for men. But I guess it could go to the human condition as well, you know. But deep conversation, you know, I can get that. The Hermit, I can totally vibe with that. There's another one I annotated here. There is always one too many around me, thus thinks the Hermit. Always one time, one eventually, that makes two. I like that one because I'm not a social butterfly. So Saul says, I concur. I relate to the hard truth bearer symbolism more than the liberated Zarathustra. Yeah, that's it. You worded it perfectly. You worded it perfectly. Our faith in others betrays in what respect we would like to have faith in ourselves. Our longing for a friend is our betrayer, and often love is only a device to overcome envy. This is a bar right here. Longing for a friend is our betrayer. I've taught my daughter, my eldest, no, don't be needy for friends. Friends come and go like the wind. Some will stay, some will go. Don't chase and cling, and if you sit alone at lunch because your friend isn't there, don't feel bad. You have to be able to be comfortable with yourself. If you try to be the popular one, to be liked by everybody, then you are pushed about like a plastic bag in the wind. You don't have any control over your own self. And people don't respect people who are obviously desperate and needy and clingy, seeking self-approval like a dog. And so, don't be afraid of not always having someone with you at the table or whatever it is at recess. Chill by yourself, vibe, find something to do, go to the library, visit the teacher, whatever it is. Don't be afraid of being alone. And she has her little friends and stuff, but I tell her don't be needy, you know. So it's really important. Saul says, true. I never thought it was wise to over-demonstrate your kindness for friendship. You'll become a sucker. Yeah. Yes. That's the perfect way for a sucker. Because there are some people... I remember one time there was this guy. His name was Alberto. And he told me... He went to prison and he had a Sword 13 tattoo on his head. And he was talking to me. He was like a gang member. He had certain prison time, and he came out from prison, he was yoked. And I like to pick the brains of people This is back before I was a Muslim, right? So you can't free mix now. But I like to pick the brains of people and say, like, what did you learn in there? Like this or that. And he was talking about how in the gang, there's always that one person who's overly eager to prove themselves, and that there's a slang for them called their missiles. Those kind of people who are overly eager to fit in, to please, to be approved, to move up, to be seen as a badass, the higher ups use them as missiles. So aka cannon fodder. Because they're blinded for approval, they will throw away their lives really easily just to get approval, just to be accepted, just to feel needed, just to be part of the group. They don't really stand on their own, they stand based upon the opinions of the group. And therefore, they are the weakest links, and they're used to be disposed of. Very deep thing he admitted there, but ever since he told me that, and his nickname was Monster. They called him Monster. And he was short, not super short, but you know, he was yolk, short, shaved head with head tats and chest tattoos and stomach tattoos. And he split his tongue like a snake. So he was quite a unique character, let's put it that way. Not someone you'd want to like trust in your life, but I just wanted to see like what witticisms has this man learned in his time. But that whole expression of missiles, you know, you're a loose missile. Because remember, if you think about the trajectory, like, you know, Moyed said that's so scary to imagine. Yeah, he was a character. And it was interesting, though, when I needed food, because I was struggling for food, he took me to his sister's home and let me shower there and let me eat. And I noticed that amongst a lot of prisoners, because they live in the halfway houses, when I was really struggling and like really down on my luck and my family was just very selfish, they didn't call to see if I was alive, yet they're so Christian. I'll get into a tirade. It was a lot of felons, they seem to have less, I don't want to say they have pity for you. Empathy, I'm not sure what it is, but you got to be careful because they'll suck you in, use you, and rob you blind. You got to be super careful. Some inmates, they've corrected themselves. Others, they have not. And they're just the same old pit bull that was released from the kennel. You know? You got to watch out. They'll maul you. But I liked... Once I see someone's unique, I like to scope out, like, who are you? So when the character Zarathustra is talking to the kings, the pope, the soothsayer, he talks about the hermits, he's talking about different personalities, and he gets to know them all. And I have a lot of patience for that, you know? I don't like shallow people very much, and the more deeper you are, I think the more isolated you become. Because people don't want to reveal things about themselves, and the people who want to hide, I'm not saying be an open book, but there are some people who hide everything to have too much mystery, and then you can't bond with them because there isn't very much to have in common. And so it's really quite fascinating when you think about it. It's really unique. Another one here. Only man placed values in things to preserve himself. He alone created a meaning for things, a human meaning. So the human meaning of things. Therefore he calls himself man, which means the esteemer. Right, very unique. Saul Heyman says, when Zarathustra said, I would only believe in God who could dance, I knew it was over for me, nothing in common. Yeah. You know, the dancing part, because I'm not that kind of person. I'm like, you know, people who like to dance in front of people, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not, no. When a woman dances in front of people, she wants men to lust for her. That's just how it is. She wants to be the belle of the ball. You know, no matter if it's a Russian waltz, a belly dancer, a striptease, a square dancing, whenever you look in movies, oh man, Anna Karenina, there's the character who dances, right? And everyone's at the ball like, oh, they're dancing. Pride and Prejudice. There's a dancing, square dancing thing. A movie based in 17th century America, 13th century England. Russia in this dynasty. Whenever there's a dancing scene in a movie, or the movie with Colin Farrell, Angelina Jolie, the she's Persian. I forget what she is, but no, I forgot what she was. She dances in front of Alexander, and Alexander falls in love. Uh, Dusk Till Dawn 3, The Hangman's Daughter. There's a scene that's iconic of a woman who's a vampire dances in front of a man. Whenever there's some woman or man dancing, you know trouble's happening and they're just trying to get attention, right? Because back in the day, they don't got video games and fun things to do. They show off through dancing. And ballet is just a way for like creepy old people and old lesbians to watch younger people prance about. I hated going to ballets. Let's go to the ballet. And I'm like, what are these people prancing about for? I can't take it anymore. So yeah, the dancing space, like if I'm happy while I'm cooking, I might do a little jig, like put the salt, put the onions. But I'm not like, hey everybody, look at me. I think when you're a kid on the playground and you see some kids skipping around, you kind of just want to throw a rock at them, like stop skipping. I don't know. I just never was that kind of person. My cousin, who I didn't really get along with very much growing up, she was a cheerleader and she did dance. Okay, she was really into Britney Spears, and so she was like, and then always dancing, and I was just like, stop moving, man! You're disturbing the peace. It's interesting. People who have to have constant movement versus people who are more still. It's a okay. Like some people, they want to be in the waves, the crashingness of the water, the movement. Others, they want to slowly walk into the very still water and disturb the water as little as possible. Like when you go to water parks, like when I was a kid, we go to water parks. There's always some kids who are like in the water, sitting there and like slowly moving and making their hand like this. And there's the kids who are splashing and they're just beating the water and they're crazy. I think of people who dance around a lot and are the free spirits that Nietzsche describes. These are people who get in the way. You know what I mean? They interrupt you from thinking. Saul Heyman says, those group dances in lines or circles look fun, but are obviously decadent. Yeah. They dance to the sound of instruments, sort of like a snake would to their charmer. Yeah. Those videos of snake charmers are interesting. Because the snake glides, like this, like they slither. And then when someone's like, and then the snake's like stuck, you're like, whoa. And you're like, whoa. You can see that the tone of the music does something. It's really fascinating. And quite scary, because you're like, hey, snap out of it, Cobra. He's going to turn you into a pair of boots. But he doesn't get it. Now here's another annotation. You invite a witness when you want to speak well of yourselves. And when you have seduced him to think well of you, then you think well of yourselves. Now that is a bar. That is a bar, Oh man, like that hits deep. That gets right at the ego. You cannot endure yourselves and do not love yourselves enough. Now you want to seduce your neighbor to love and then gild yourselves with his error. Would that you could not endure all sorts of neighbors and their neighbors. Then you would have to create your friend and his overflowing heart out of yourselves. So notice this. You can't endure yourself. You don't love yourselves enough. That's an interesting line right there. So I see that as people pleasers. People who are deeply insecure with themselves, and they have to get that sort of external validation from those around them in order to feel special. And that is potent. You flee to your neighbor from yourselves. Because remember, the neighbor in the Christianity, it's like, there's a lot of stuff about neighbors. I do not love your festivals either. I have found too many actors there, and the spectators too often behave like actors. That's a deep one too, because an actor shows false emotions, right? They're just doing it for the crowd. You know, when the people of North Korea are clapping like seals, they have to show that they're sad for the leader or else something bad could happen to them. And the leader of North Korea, obviously not a good person, so he's acting like the part, and the crowd is acting like the part. So it's a fake reality. That's what I think of when Nietzsche writes that. He who seeks easily gets lost. All loneliness is guilt. Thus speaks the herd, and you have long belonged to the herd. The voice of the herd will still be audible in you. That's deep as well. Saul says, it's easier to hide behind causes than face yourself. Very true. Can you give yourself your own evil and your own good and hang your own will over yourself as a law? Can you be your own judge and avenger of your law? Terrible it is to be alone with the judge and avenger of one's own law. Thus is a star thrown out into the void and into the icy breath of solitude. Ooh, icy breath of solitude. Ooh. Convulsions of the ambitious. But the higher you ascend, the smaller you appear to the eye of envy. But most of all, they hate those who fly. As you rise up, the envy comes too. It's really such a great book. I hope you enjoyed. It's been a long journey, and I wanted to focus on Nietzsche for these past week so that we could bust it out. And no matter which way you square it, Nietzsche has provided us with a text that when you reread it, you'll think of like, I feel this way about it this time. It's remember. It's something to remember. Saul Heyman says, I cannot remember coming across any of Nietzsche's work in school. I had fun getting to know some of his ideas. Yeah, he should be studied more, you know, because we're dealing with such a high polished society that doesn't really like to get into the nitty gritty of reality. Moyad says, thanks for sharing. I enjoyed this. Looking forward for more. Well, this is the final episode of Zarathustra. We finished it, and it's been a labor of love, you know, over 300 pages, so lots of annotations. Saul Heyman says, I can figure why he isn't in school actually, since he designates himself as a teacher to men primarily. Yeah, like the feminists are gonna start crying. How dare you, misogyny! I think feminists would be the first ones to do so much book burning, which is ironic, because they'll keep the weird books. You know, back to fiqh now. Yeah, we'll get into Khalid bin al-Walid. We'll do like the Handmaid's Tale, get into the fiqh, and we have the Uthman ibn Affan. But these long stretches of the same topic, it's going to be a new pattern for a while. Spice it up. You know what I mean? Saul Heyman says feminists probably hate Gandhi too. Oh snap, I haven't read much about him except that Gandhi used to like lay in the bed with like women just to show he couldn't get an erection or something. I don't know. But he was a pacifist, wasn't he? Excuse me. And so I'm not much of a pacifist myself. We've done 83 videos now of Nietzsche, and I don't know of any other channel that spent this many hours digging into one book and really getting into the nitty-gritty. And what I hope that people take away from this is that taking your time with the text and really ruminating over it and giving that text a chance can really provide you with a lot of mental exercise. Some people don't like to read because the books they're reading are boring. And I must say the older books are better than the modern books. Because people are using ChatGPT now, they're using AI. I'm not saying AI can't be interesting, but they're not labeling it as AI. And so there's a detachment there. And Nietzsche has the human voice. And that is very beneficial to us. Because with the human voice comes the human condition. And the closer we get to that, you know, we can discover more about ourselves. Saul Heyman says, true, if I started a channel, I would want to read out of my own works. Your effort is commendable. Thanks, fam. And remember, a lot of people will say they're really into philosophy, but they won't read the books. They just want to memorize what they learned in school. Muad says, yeah, that's why you're special and the reason I follow you, even before you revert to Islam. Oh, thanks, fam. There'll be a lot of people who say, like, I'm a philosopher, but all they really did was pass the tests in the college, get their certification, and then repeat things like a dictionary, like a Wikipedia. A lot of philosophers today are just walking Wikipedia pages of facts, but they don't do the introspection themselves to be like, okay, let's wrestle with these ideas, expand. I think you gotta have a certain type of temperament and willingness to confront your own ideas. And that's why I really enjoyed this book, because I feel like when you finish it, you learn more about rhetoric, all kinds of stuff. So Hyman says, haha, the 20-year-old philosopher muse. Yeah. Okay, fam. I can hear my family coming back just in time. They went on a walk so I could finish this book. They went to the playground. And so, alhamdulillah, it's been a great reading session. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Join the blog. Helps out the channel. I'm not monetized, and I'm not funded by anybody. I have a sponsor that does the Quran stuff, Hey, assalamu alaikum. Farewell, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and take care.